Hi, I'm Tiong, Developer Relations Engineer for Android Camera. In this talk, we'll walk through how to implement HDR 10-bit video. High Dynamic Range, or HDR, allows for higher contrast and more colors over today's standard dynamic range. Here, we compare two images. Notice that the HDR photo represents more of the tones of the scene and has a sharper contrast. On devices that support HDR, you'll also notice that the sun is noticeably brighter and the shadows are noticeably darker. This is due to the ability to have wider range of nits, or brightness data, per pixel. In this comparison, you'll notice that the 10-bit photo is smoother and more realistic than the 8-bit photo. This is because we have additional bits that we can now use to capture and represent more of the natural colors that actually exist. In SDR, these out-of-range colors are mapped to the closest 8-bit color that is in range. This can, in many cases, create artifacts such as banding, as you see here. HDR allows you to capture media with more color and contrast accuracy due to the fact that more data can be represented. In the remainder of this tech talk, we'll go through how to capture, playback, and share 10-bit HDR video on Android. Let's talk about capture. First, we need to check for HDR support. Note that in-app capture is only available on supported devices, and these devices must be running Android T or later. Here, we check to see if 10-bit range is supported. We also check to see if the profile that we want is available. For instance, we check for HLG. Now, let's set up the capture session. We set the output configuration to the profile that we want. Again, in this example, we set the profile to HLG. If we're using media codec, we'll want to correctly configure the API to avoid any color issues. We'll set the transfer, profile, color, format, and other properties as shown here. Great. Now, let's look at playback. Please note that texture view will only be displayed in 8-bit. Any HDR content you give to texture view will be shown in 8-bit. The quality of the final results will depend on the device's underlying transcoding implementation. For this reason, we recommend that you either migrate to a view that supports 10-bit, such as SurfaceView or ExoPlayer, or if you wish to continue to support texture view, explicitly transcode your 10-bit content to 8-bit SDR. We'll review how to treat your 10-bit content so that it's available for 8-bit use, such as texture view, later in this talk. Also note that ExoPlayer supports HDR playback by default. If you are using SurfaceView, we recommend using media codec. Okay, let's get back to coding. First, let's check the device's display capability. Here, we check that the display can support HLG. Then, we'll need to configure the media codec. Here, we set the decoder to HEVC, which supports HLG. And that's it. As mentioned, you may want to share your content, for example, to devices that do not support 10-bit. We'll walk through just how to do that. To ensure you retain the highest quality media in 8-bit, you'll want to transcode them properly. Luckily, Transformer makes this easy. We do this by passing the media through Transformer and enabling SDR tone mapping. The library will take care of the rest for you. Also, stay tuned for HDR support in Camera X, coming in the next alpha releases of the API. There you have it, from capturing, playback, to sharing. We hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. Give it a try and let us know what you think. Thank you.